What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Dummy Wormy. I'm coming at you with another video, and a few weeks ago we ended up seeing the launch of the highly anticipated largest game show in history, Mr. Beast Games, aka Beast Games, over on Amazon Prime. Now this show has been marred with controversy after controversy, issue after issue, but following the release of this show, it got heavily panned by critics alike. Mr. Beast Games show hit with terrible reviews. We could come over here to IMDb and we could see that it currently is sitting at a score of 5.3 out of 10, being a biggest meh show of them all. And you even had groups like IGN coming out here giving it a 2 and basically breaking it down as nothing more than a high budget Mr. Beast episode. Now, when it comes to a lot of this stuff, we're seeing what people are saying. We're seeing what some of the reviewers are saying, and it's really not a shocker. But when it comes to how this show's doing viewership wise, that becomes a bit of another question, because we could come over here to actually Mr. Beast 2, his second YouTube channel. We can see they actually posted the first 10 minutes of the actual series itself. And when we scroll down here, we could see it actually got pretty decent views, especially for its second channel. Yeah, when we come over here to compare it to the other videos on Mr. Beast 2, it's right along with average viewership of some of these videos, sitting at 27 million views compared to things like 38 million views, 11 million views, 3.1 million views, so on and so forth. There not a whole lot of views over here on his second channel. But when we also take a look at the like to dislike ratio, yeah, it's pretty successful. It's doing okay. It's not as great as, say, some of his other content over on his main channel and doing as well as some of his main channel content. But let's be fair here. These numbers aren't really something to scoff at in a general YouTube video sense. But that's the thing. It's successful for a YouTube video. Is it actually successful though for Amazon Prime becomes the bigger question, because recently we've been seeing Mr. Beast come out here and tout how successful the show's doing over on Amazon Prime itself. And you can see a series of tweets right here. Beast Games is #1 in the US, and I can't express how grateful I am for all of the love and support. I and countless talented people really put so much love and passion into it, and seeing everyone's reactions has been amazing. Thanks, guys. That's great. Good that you guys have all sorts of success on this and stuff, but to be very clear here, being #1 on Amazon Prime means jack crap. And he'll continue on to say, hey, look, we're #1 again 8 days later. See, again, screenshots of what Amazon Prime is telling you. And then he continues on saying countries where it's in the top 3. Good for you. Good for you being all over here. But again, you're using Amazon Prime data, where, to be quite honest with you guys and people that are newer to the channel, Amazon Prime puts whatever it wants in its #1 spot, #2 spot, #3 spot, because that's an idea of marketing. That's the idea to get people to click there. Oh, look, it's #1. That must mean people are actually watching this and enjoying this. Let's click it and see what it is. That doesn't really mean much. Amazon Prime can actually manipulate what's top spot, what's 2 spot, what's 3 spot. So if Amazon Prime is coming out here and saying, hey, it's #1 on our own metrics, which we do not tell to the public, that doesn't mean anything. So I decided to start digging deeper. And again, this actually primarily was sparked up because of the recent Turkey Tom video on this exact subject, which go out and check, because it is a decent video and it does get into some of the more nitty gritty of the drama that was going on when it came to Beast Games. But he ended up pointing out that, hey, Mr. Beast is saying it's #1, Amazon Prime saying it's #1. And even though people say Amazon Prime doesn't tell you what the metrics are, obviously Mr. Beast should know and they'll be telling you it's #1. Thing is, no, this is probably contractual, because when we come over here to what the actual data we are getting right now, it's not looking that good. And we'll scroll over here to Samba TV data. Now, when it comes to Samba TV data, this isn't exact math here. We're not comparing this to like the Nielsen data, which we won't be getting for another month. But Samba TV data does in fact track shows similar to Nielsen data, but it only tracks shows on Samba TV TVs. If you have the Samba TV app on your TV, they can actually track this data. And when we actually come over here to the week in which it launched, you start seeing that no, Mr. Beast Games isn't on here. Now, this is the most immediate data we can actually get, because again, Amazon Prime is not very forthcoming with a lot of these streaming data. So if we can again, come right on back over here and see, at least over on its second YouTube channel, right now it's sitting at 27 million views, which again, these aren't numbers to scoff at to a YouTube video, but these are completely different numbers when it comes to actual streaming data on something like Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Netflix, so on and so forth. This data actually has to translate to subscribers, to actual paid memberships, to other things. So this data's super important, and it does depict how successful a show truly is. And the thing is, again, coming back here to the Samba TV data, doesn't really look like anybody's watching it over on Amazon Prime. And to further that point, I want people to realize Samba TV was actually picking up shows like The Acolyte. And again, for people that might be new to the channel, The Acolyte was one of the worst rated shows in Disney Plus history, coming in with some of the worst viewership data for Star Wars ever, and even ended up falling off, literally falling off the Samba TV data because people weren't watching it. And to further that point, we can come over here to That Park Place, in which they even tell you it had 50% lower viewership in the end than Andor, which had the lowest viewership to this point. Yeah, nobody was watching The Acolyte, but even Samba TV was picking up The Acolyte. Another show Samba TV was actually picking up, Rings of Power. Rings of Power, which is an Amazon Prime show, was getting tracked by Samba TV week over week over week. And fun thing about Rings of Power, it also was a massive flop for Amazon Prime, seeing that it continued to suffer 50% decline with the beginning of season 2 compared to the end of season 1. So yeah, viewership data is basically non-existent there, but that was being picked up by Samba TV, and that was being tracked by Samba TV. So we already have two shows, two completely failure of a shows, one from Disney, one from Amazon, that were actually getting picked up by Samba TV and recognized by Samba TV. And Mr. Beast Games isn't there. But to further this point that the show isn't as successful as what people want you to believe it is, Mr. Beast decided to come out a few days later after making these initial tweets over on the 20th and decided to tweet this out on the 28th. Beast Games is officially the #1 unscripted series in Prime Video history. Now that's a different metric to judge by. When it was originally #1 on Amazon Prime, that's saying that's #1 compared to all other shows on Amazon Prime. Now we have a category to actually work with, the unscripted series. Okay, so let's take a look at what your unscripted shows are, what the shows are that you are actually competing against within this category. So we'll come over here to Wikipedia. Now, this is the list of every Amazon Prime original show to date. Now, I could keep breaking this down further and further, but I decided to come down here to the unscripted category and primarily keep it more in line with things like reality TV, because we're comparing this to shows like sports, agriculture, some of these docuseries. Yeah, these aren't going to get a whole lot of views itself, so let's keep it to reality TV, because this is more or less what Mr. Beast Games is reality TV. So what are we comparing this viewership data to? Well, we're comparing it to a show called LOL, Last One Laughing, which has different variations of it depending on what country it comes from, whether it's Mexico, Italy, Germany, France, Brazil. You have a show called Wild and Free, which is just a reality show. So again, it's in this category, but you know what? Let's take this out because I'm going to break this numbers down even a little bit further. We're going to solely choose the competition categories. So we'll just take Last One Laughing and we'll count that as one because this is primarily just Last One Laughing over and over again. Now, the other ones that you're going up against is Dragged In, which is drag competition. Okay, that's 2. We have Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls. That's 3. We have Prank or Tank. That's 4. We have 007 Road to a Million. That's 5. And last but not least, we have shows like The GOAT, which is 6. And finally, we have Beast Games, which is 7. So if we're going to start breaking this down, and I know I broke it down to relatively 7 shows because that's completely different to some of your other shows here. We're comparing reality competition shows here. So you have 7 shows you are competing up against within this actual category. Your top dog within these 7 shows. If we actually wanted to break this down further and actually throw in every reality show here and every sports-based show here and so on and so forth, yeah, that's still not a high bar. You're still dealing with completely different categories of television, categories of shows, whether it's unscripted or not. You're dealing with things like Face Off inside the NHL. You're dealing with live sports recasts. You're dealing with drag shows, for crying out loud. You're dealing with other reality shows. So it's not a super high bar to actually cross. So, but being number one in that category isn't something to scoff at, but that does drastically change the actual metrics as to what makes this show a success via Amazon Prime and MGM Studios. Because remember, this show did cost them $100 million, one of the most expensive reality-based competitions in history, and it's also giving out the most amount of money within reality-based competition shows, being $5 million. This is a very expensive show for Amazon Prime. Now, it's not the most expensive show they have, but this is a super, super expensive show, which does need to bring in viewership, it does need to bring in subscribers, and it does need to make Amazon itself a lot of money to be deemed successful. On top of this, I've seen people say, well, obviously, Mr. Beast should know what this data is. Mr. Beast should know that this is 100% the case, okay? There's no way in heck Mr. Beast would be coming out here and lying and saying that the show isn't number one. But we're gonna go back to an earlier claim I made, in which when we come back over here to, Amazon Prime stating, Mr. Beast Games is number one. At one point in time, Amazon Prime was saying, Lord of the Rings is the number one best show in the world. Go watch Rings of Power. Same goes for The Acolyte. Acolyte's number one show on Disney Plus. Go watch it now, because it's a marketing tool. It's a tool used by marketers to come out here and say, hey, we're the number one show on this platform as of right now at this particular time. Go out there and say it, because it convinces people that they need to get in while getting's good and see what's all the hubbub about. See what everybody's talking about. See why is it number one? What makes it so successful? Because it's in that number one spot where everybody's telling us it's number one. That must mean it's super successful, when in reality it could be either or. And to further a point that even Turkey Tom himself made within the actual video he made, obviously Mr. Beast should know what the actual viewership data is, because he made the show. He should know what this actual data is. Thing is, barely any streaming services, if any at all, actually tell people what the viewership data is. Now, I come over here to the curtain, because this was actually a big point of contention during the writer strikes that happened last year, in which one of the things they wanted was viewership-based streaming bonuses, because they weren't actually getting shown what the viewership was for any of these shows. Companies like Amazon, Disney, Hulu, which is also Disney, but case in point right here, Netflix only recently started telling people how successful each show was in reality, and actually telling their creators how successful their shows actually were, because they were having massive successes. But these streaming companies weren't actually telling people how their viewership data truly was. They weren't actually even telling creators how successful their shows were. They would only ever come out here and boast about numbers if they could try to spin it in a way, or if it was actually successful, like several of the Netflix series have been, whether it's shows like Arcane, One Piece live action, Squid Game, so on and so forth. They only recently came out and started doing this before the writer's strike. So all the other companies actually don't really do this, and still don't do this to this day. So you can say Mr. Beast obviously should know what these viewership data are, but chances are all he gets told is, hey, you're the number one in this particular category. Go out there and say that due to contractual reasons. When it comes to the actual viewership data for Beast Games, as of right now, all I can see is the metrics tell me it's not as good as it actually should be. And when you actually take a look at what some of the people who have actually reviewed the show to say, they're saying it's nothing more than a glorified YouTube video, a glorified Mr. Beast video on his own channel, just now with more money, more production, and being up on Amazon Prime. It's not anything to write home about. These reviews aren't going to be helping it any way, shape, or form either. And Amazon Prime probably doesn't have a massive pile of garbage on their hands, but they more than likely didn't actually get their money's worth within this situation. If this was an everyday YouTube video, this would be a monumental success. We could just come right over here back to Beast 2. We can see, yes, this was a successful viewership outing. We can compare it to the other videos on Beast 2, relatively similar viewership to most of his other videos, super successful if it's a YouTube video. But this is no longer just a YouTube video. This is a full-length production, and that means it needs to bring in viewership, subscribers, and actual money. And if it's not doing any of those things, it's a dud at the end of the day. But I'm gonna leave it there. Let me get your guys' thoughts on all this down in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it out with friends, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for every time I put out a new video live, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.